Hey guys, Shawns here. So this will be the first in a series of videos where I am going to showcase a not mainstream build. It's not one of the cookie cutter main builds. It might not compare to them. All of the ones that I've made so far can run at least greater Rift 70. I haven't tried pushing higher with some of them. I'm sure they could. I'll update if I get any really good ones. But for now, these are ones that I found that are fun or different or variations that you typically wouldn't see. Stay tuned. Feel free to watch the video. Next couple videos if you want other ideas or like this. And enjoy. Alright, so you might be curious what this one is from the couple second clip at the start. I never realized how cool the cold kick was. It's actually kind of like almost like Fist of Heavens from Diablo 2 where it shoots something down. And it's actually range default. So this is a cold variation of the LoN Lashing Tail Kick build. So at the very least, it looks pretty cool. So how I do it, we'll go into that now. Alright, so skills first. If you have a Fire Lashing Tail Kick, it's pretty similar. Cold Lashing Tail Kick, obviously that's the main point of the build. Dashing Strike Radiance, just attack speed, mobility. Epiphany Insight, 45 Spirit per second. That's huge for keeping up Spirit since we don't have Cinder Coat. Blinding Flash, damage gain if you're close enough, and Spirit because we're using Laws of Seth in the cube. I'm using Mystic Ally, Air Ally. Again, no Cinder Coat, got to make up the Spirit somehow. And then Mantra of Salvation, Agility, just so there's a little bit of toughness. We have Beacon of Yatar, cooldown, so we can hit our skills, keep our Spirit up. Exalted Soul, more Spirit and Spirit regen. Momentum, this one's kind of up in the air. You could use whatever you want here. More damage, more regen if you need it. And then Harmony, so we have some resistances and toughness. Along with that, it does use a Hellfire. Mine's only Transcendence. I just threw on whatever ancient one I had. Any good secondary, obviously, is ideal. Alright, rest of the gear. Guiding a Cashew is needed. Mine on this one is crappy, but Spirit Regen, typically you would want Vita. More Lashing Tail Kick damage, better. Even the more Fireball damage is better. I put a Reduced Resource Cost gem in it. It uses a ton of Spirit compared to the Fire one. And it also uses Obsidian in the cube. So cooldown isn't as important, but it's also important for it. So cooldown and resource cost reduction are both ideal. So resource cost reduction there. I also have resource cost reduction rolled onto the shoulders. Since there's no really great shoulders for it, I'm using Deathwatch mantles, whatever. If you could figure something out where you want it to be close range, you could still use Soliloquies with Cyclone Strike. You'll have less Spirit and you'll be right in the mix of it, but I figure since it's range, I don't really want to suck them into me, end up being hurt more. Aquila on the chest, just because there's no really good chests. So you could really use whatever here. You're not going to be above 90% resource too often, so it's not too much of a gain, but whatever. Strong arms, these are still on from when I was using the fire one and cyclone. Could use whatever bracers. Witching hour, attack speed and damage. You kick faster. It kind of goes crazy once Flying Dragon kicks in. Frostburns, these are actually an old pair. So the gold writing on the new ones is up to 20% cold damage and up to 50% freeze for enemies. So it's cold, may as well use the cold gloves. I'm using Poxvaults. I've had really bad luck rolling Swampland Waders, either fire or cold. So ideally Swampland Waders for more damage, but whatever pants will work. We got Rivera Dancers. Obviously need it for any Lashing Tail Kick build. Scarbringer. Again, obviously needed for any Lashing Tail Kick build. And I'm using an Azurath, which a little bit more damage from cold percent, but you could use something like Inguiome if you want the mobility. And then in the cube, Flying Dragon. When it procs, you're attacking super fast, but it also uses a whole ton of spirit. So a perfectly viable option would be to switch to Crystal Fist for more toughness. I'd probably do that if I was running Greater Rifts instead of T13. Lazasef, so we use Blind, so that's a huge spirit gain. And then Obsidian Ring, so we can get our skills up quickly. On the weapons, I have Resource Cost rolled on here, and Resource Cost and Cooldown rolled on here. Other than that, it's mostly crit, some Resource Cost. As for my stats, my Sheet Toughness is 195 million. You get a pretty good buff from Legacy of Nightmares, from the Wailing Host and Litany of Undaunted. Damage, almost 1.9 million. Sheet damage doesn't really mean much, but just to get an idea. Critical hit chance, 52. Critical hit damage is really high. One-hand weapons, it makes sense. My cooldown is just above 35. And my resource cost reduction is around 40%. But I don't have Cinder Coat, so it's win some, you lose some. So as far as I can tell, this won't quite be to where fire is. It doesn't have the AoE, it doesn't have the same damage and all that. But who likes using the same thing as everyone else? Also, another thing of note, when I was using the fire, I was using Bane of the Powerful, Bane of the Trapped, and Esoteric. But since this is ranged, you can throw a Zeiss in and get a damage increase also, because you're away from the actual mobs. It's not all the way, it'll only go so far, but still some distance, still a damage increase. And this can run at least Greater Rift 70 with the crappy gear that I do have, no Vita and slots and whatever, so it's pretty fun. I'll go through and show some rifting on T13, just show how it is viable still, and anything else, feel free to ask in the comments, but next up is just some running and then final thoughts. Let's come up, just kind of like you would with an old wave of Light Monk. If you screw up the cycle, you can run out of spirit, obviously. Like, it attacks super fast and everyone takes spirit, but... So this is T13. I'd say this is perfectly viable for anything on this level. I'm hitting for 12 to 20 billion damage per quote-unquote kick. My LoN fire was maybe 22 billion, so it's a little bit less. But this looks cool as fuck. You got the distance. And it's just different than everyone else is running, right? So, in my opinion, huge bonus for that. I'm kind of bored of doing what everyone else is. I have so many monks. I have like 10 monks. So, I may as well try some actual builds out instead of just copying everyone else. Kills fairly fast. It's not as fast, still definitely viable, even if it's on it. The other thing that's nice too is you still get the Gain and Akashi fireballs, which do pretty good damage. So there you have it. Any questions, let me know, and have a good one.